question and answer session from this chapter. Okay, so as we have been learning about the magnetic effect of electric current, in that we learned that when electricity is passed through a given conducting wire, so it produces a magnetic field around it, right? So that is something which we have learned, and there are various applications that works on the magnetic effect of electric current, right? So we had learned, like as you can see here, the current flows through the given wire, and the magnetic needle over here, the needle of the compass shows deflection, okay, because magnetic field is created here. That is one thing. Then there are various applications also of this magnetic effect of electric current. For example, you might have seen that these big cranes have got electromagnets on them. With the help of fish, they will be pulling out magnetic scraps from the recycled area, from the factories where the waste are recycled. So that is an electromagnet. You can yourself also make a mini version of the electromagnet with the help of the nails and the copper wires like that. And we have described how you can make it. There are various applications of this electromagnet. It is used in the field of medical science also, like we have got MRI scanners that creates a strong magnetic field to create the images of the inside of the body. And with the images produced, the doctor will be able to diagnose the disease, what kind of problem the person is suffering from. So it is used there, getting it. Then this electromagnet has some advantage over the permanent magnets. Permanent magnets, like we see that the permanent magnets are the magnets that we obtain from the nature. That is not created by us, right? And that is not artificial in nature. Getting it, Razan? In the case of this electromagnet, the advantage is such that you can increase or decrease the strength of the electromagnet by increasing the number of turns of the coil, okay, or either by increasing the flow of electric current through it. You can increase it, or you can decrease it also by decreasing the number of winding or the amount of current that flows through it, okay. But there is one slight disadvantage, that this electromagnet requires electricity in order to operate, but the permanent magnet does not require any kind of energy. So that is the case. About the electric bell, what we have learned, that this also makes use of an electromagnet to work. The working of the electric bell is such that, like the construction, first we need to take a look at the construction. So we have learned that this consists of a coil of wire that is wrapped around a piece of iron. This will be behaving as an electromagnet. We have got a battery, we have a switch, we have copper wires, okay, that will be acting as conducting wires. Then here we have got this iron strip. Take a look at this structure over here. That is called as iron strip. And at one end of the iron strip, the hammer is attached. Okay. You there, no, Razan? Sit in a quiet
Yes,
room.
sir.
Sit in a quiet room and attend the class from there only. Okay. Also turn your camera on in the class.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Okay, I will be waiting. And where are others? Aman is still not here. Neither is Fatima. Yeah. See. So what I'm saying, that this has got one electromagnet. How the electromagnet has been made? Basically, we have taken a coil of wire that is wrapped around the pieces of iron like this. That is going to work as an electromagnet. We have got some copper wires, a battery, a switch to control the flow of current. Okay. Then here we have got this iron strip. Okay, soft iron strip, basically a piece of iron object over here. And to one end of the iron strip, you take a look at this spherical structure, a small ball that is called as hammer. Okay. Now what is going to happen when you will be turning the switch on? Okay. So thereby the current starts to flow in this. Getting it? The current will flow, and just let me tell you how the current is going to flow. Okay, so I will be now pointing it. Pay attention to how the current is going to flow. So the current flows in the wire it will go here. From here, it will go to this wire. Getting it? So this electromagnet will get the current. Let me tell you this from here. See, the current is starting to flow as the switch will be turned on. And look at the path of the flow of current. Pay attention to that. So it flows from here, and from here the current further goes to this. Getting it? Like this, the current is flowing. So when this electromagnet will get electricity, okay, so when this will get electricity, it will start to behave as an electromagnet. Okay, and it will start to behave like a magnet, and we know magnets attracts magnetic objects towards it now. And what is this object made up of? This iron strip. This is made up of iron now. So this iron strip gets attracted towards the electromagnet. And in the process of doing so, what happens? The hammer will strike the gong and the sound is produced. The hammer strikes the gong. And the moment when the iron strip moves towards the electromagnet, so the contact of this iron strip with the screw is broken here. Getting it? With the screw, it is broken here. So the circuit is now broken. It is now an open circuit. And what we know that in the open circuit, current does not flow. Right? In the open circuit, current does not flow. So thereby what will happen? The current will no longer flow in the electromagnet. It will. Yes.
Nothing, sir. I just forget.
Okay. Rizan, kindly sit in a quiet place. Okay. So that you'll be able to.
I'm sitting in a quiet place. Sir.
Yeah. Okay. So what will happen then? As soon as the circuit is broken, will the current still flow if the circuit is open? Tell me.
No.
No. So if this is not getting any electricity, it will stop to behave as an electromagnet, right? So it will stop to behave as an electromagnet, and hence it will no longer pull the iron strip towards it. It will no longer pull the iron strip towards it. So the iron strip will fall back. While it will be falling back, it will again come in contact with this screw, and hence the circuit will again be completed. Okay. And when the circuit will again be completed, the current will again flow in this electromagnet. Hence, again magnetic field will be created. Then the iron strip will get attracted towards the electromagnet, and in the process of doing so, it will again strike the gong. So hence sound will be produced. So that is the working which I have explained. Also take a look at the animation here that will help you understand how exactly it is going to work. Also take a look at how the current is flowing in this. Okay. Take a look at how the current is flowing as soon as the switch will be turned on, and it will start to behave as a magnet. Okay. And to get the complete understanding, you need to take a look at this diagram. Just 1 minute. Let me just erase this thing one. Yeah. So we need to look at the video from this part. You were absent, I think, Razana, the last class.
Yes, sir.
Try to stay regular now, as the exams are near. Okay. And you have got your exam also. Exams are also coming now. Right. So look from here, okay?
Magnet. The electric bell consists of a coil of wire wound on an iron piece. The coil acts as an electromagnet. An iron.
Yes.
After this, can we do the lessons for my syllabus?
Yeah, we can do that, sure. Okay.
In this
Also,
class?
yeah, in this class, since you're only present, so we can do that.
Yes, sir.
Strip with a hammer at one end is kept close to the electromagnet. There is a contact screw near the iron strip. When the iron strip is in contact with the screw, the current flows through the coil, turning it to an electromagnet. It then pulls the iron strip. In the process, the hammer at the end of the strip strikes the gong of the bell to produce sound. Summary.
So got it how it is working? Yes, Suzanne?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll be doing the question later on. You have your exam upcoming on 14th of Jan, right? You have transportation in plants and animals and reproduction in plants, right? No?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So which chapter you would like to do? Tell me. Transportation or reproduction in plants?
Transportation is
Transportation. Okay, okay.
trans-
Okay, okay. I got it. Okay, see. Okay, before we continue, tell me in which topics you are facing more difficulty, like in which topic you are having difficulty in the chapter. So we can discuss that particular thing first.
sir. I just want to revise the whole chapter.
Oh, okay, okay, fine. Let's start. Now, as we know that there is energy requirement of a living organism, right? Every living organism requires energy in order to carry out their function. Getting it? In case of any living organism, we see that they are made up of cells, right now, and a cell has got various functions to do. Getting it? A cell has got various functions to do. Also, in the very simple terms, I can say that order to do any kind of physical workout, even if it is a small act of speaking or thinking, all of this requires energy, right? For example, our brain, in order to work properly, it needs oxygen. If our brain does not get adequate amount of oxygen, so we may not be able to think properly. Getting it? If the brain does not get food or water, it will stop, it will not work properly. Just like the brain, every organ, every part of the body requires energy to carry out its function, right? So what are the requirements of different organs of the body? Where did you go? Yes, Razan. Okay, seems like you're having some network issue.
Yes, sir.
Okay, see. So the question is why plants and animals needs a transportation system at all, right? So as we know that all living organisms, plants, whether it be animals, they need food, oxygen, and water so that they can survive. And all these necessary elements needs to be delivered to different parts of their body, right? Like the heart, the kidney, the brain, the lungs, etc. All of them requires these things. So in order for the transportation of these things towards the different places in the body, a transportation system is needed. So that's why we need a transportation system. So all those necessary stuffs could be provided, right? Then talking about the circulatory system, right? So the organ system of the body that is responsible for transportation of material throughout our body, that is called a circulatory system. Getting it now? So there has to be a system responsible for this, right? So that's the human circulatory system, and it consists of a network. It will consist of a network that will supply food, water, oxygen, and all other necessary substances throughout the body. The main parts of the circulatory system are the blood vessels, and the heart. Getting it now? So blood is there, the blood vessels like vein and artery is there, right? So these are the blood vessels, then heart, and then the blood that is flowing. So all of this makes up the human circulatory system. Getting it now? So that is the case over here. Then talking about the various components here. So we have the blood. Blood is basically a red color fluid that flows in our body through the blood vessels, right? And its main function is that it is acting as a medium of transportation. Okay, so it's a medium of transportation of all the essential substances through our body, whether it be water, whether it be food, whether it be oxygen, everything is flowing in the blood, right? Apart from that, the blood also regulates the temperature of the body. That is also one function. Then we see that the blood will be carrying the waste materials to our kidneys, and the kidney would be filtering the waste materials out of the blood. Getting it? That is one thing. Also, what happens? The small intestine would be digesting the food. The complete and the final digestion of the food takes place in the small intestine. Getting it? And in the small intestine, the digested food is absorbed by the blood. And hence, that digested food absorbed by the blood is sent to the different parts of the body. That is one thing. Okay. Then there are various components of the blood. Like blood, we see that blood can perform various functions. Okay, why? Because it has got different substances present in it. Like blood has got blood plasma. Okay, it has got blood plasma in it. It's basically a liquid substance in the blood, right? And about 55% of the blood is basically plasma. How much? It's about 55% of the blood is made up of plasma only. Getting it, Razan? That is one thing. Okay, further we see that this plasma will help in transportation of different substances throughout the body. Okay, na? And the blood plasma, what is it made up of? It is made up of water. It contains salt. It contains fat. It contains glucose, proteins, minerals, and some other substances in it. So that is all about the blood plasma. And the color of the blood plasma is it's pale yellow in color, as you can see here. It's pale yellow in color. Okay. Also, we see that the blood plasma, it itself is made up of 95% of water. So a good amount of water is present in the plasma. Getting it? So plasma is very much necessary so that all the materials can move easily. Then talking about the white blood cells, right? They are called as the soldiers of the body, right now. Although they are present in very few amount, like only 1% of the total composition of the blood is white blood cells. Getting it? What I'm trying to say now. Hmm? But they are performing a very important function. These cells fight against the germs present in our body. Whatever germs enters our body, so these cells will be fighting with them. Okay, you can think of them the soldiers, or you can think of them as your immunity cells. So they are very much important. Okay, so they will flow through the blood, different parts, and they will fight with the viruses, bacteria, or other foreign invaders that have entered our body. So that was about the white blood cells, also called as leukocytes. Then talking about the red blood cells, these are the cells that are present in ample amount. They are present in higher amount in the blood, almost 40 to 50%. 40 to 45% of the blood is made up of the red blood cells. Getting it? Okay. Further, they are red in color because they contain this special pigment called as, what's the name of the pigment here? Is Rizan try to recall this?
What's that?
Um what's the name of the pigment found in the blood? Red pigment found in the blood. That we call as, repeat again.
Plasma?
No, it's pigment. No, plasma is a liquid. It's a fluid. Plasma is,
It's starting with H, right?
yeah, it's hemoglobin.
Hemoglobin.
Okay, hemoglobin, yeah. So hemoglobin is present in it because of which the blood is red in color. Also, the oxygen that we take in, it binds with the hemoglobin. Okay, the oxygen that we're taking, it binds with the oxygen with the hemoglobin and forms oxyhemoglobin, right? So that is the case. Plus RBCs, they don't have any nucleus in it. Unlike other cells in the body which have got nucleus, the red blood cells don't have nucleus in them. So that is all about this. Okay. Then we have the blood platelets. Okay, blood platelets. By the way, the red blood cells are also called as, keep this in mind, that they are also called as erythrocytes. That's another name that we use for them. Talking about blood platelets, also called as the thrombocytes, they are important as they help in the formation of the blood clot. So it is important in clotting the blood. So whenever we are suffering from injury, the blood will start to flow from that injured portion. So if too much of blood were to flow, the person can die, right? So at the site of the injury, the platelets will go, it will bind all the red blood cells together and will form a clot like this, and hence stops the blood flow and prevents the death of the person. So these were all the different components of the blood. Getting it? So we have white blood cells, red blood cells, blood platelets, and the fluid component that was plasma. Hope it should be clear. Answer to me. What is the name of the liquid substance present in the blood? I need to rename you once again. Just 1 minute. Repeat again. That is
Plasma?
plasma. Very good. Okay. Red blood cells are red because of, yeah. Red blood cells are red because of the hemoglobin in it. Okay. Okay.
Hemoglobin.
Okay. Which are also called as immunity cells. Immunity cells. Mhm. That will be fighting with the germs. White blood cells. Okay.
Yes.
Good. So talking about the blood vessels, these are kind of tube-like structures, right? That will help in transportation of blood throughout our body. Our body respectively have got two types of blood vessels and their functions are different. So we have got arteries and veins mainly. Apart from that, there are very thin and tiny blood vessels also called as capillaries that we'll take a look at later on. Talking about the arteries here. Okay, so arteries are the blood vessels that are carrying the blood away from the heart. It takes the blood away from the heart, and this blood that is taken away from the heart contains oxygen. So arteries will be carrying the oxygenated blood from the away from the heart and will be providing it to different parts of the body. That is one thing. Then when we take a look at the wall of the artery, so it has got thicker walls. They have thick walls as the blood that flows in the artery is having some pressure in it. The pressure is quite high in the arteries. Getting it? So thereby it has got a thicker blood, thicker walls, so that it does not rupture. It does not breaks or ruptures. Okay, that is one thing. Further, they are also narrow, so that blood can flow through them quickly. So they are very narrow also. So that is one thing. Okay, as for example, just for reference, I have noted over here, like suppose if it is 2 millimeter, So vein would be 2.5 millimeters. So this was just for reference, not to be taken as actual value.
Okay, sir.
So they are narrower also, so that blood can flow through them easily. That is something. Further, they don't have valves in them. While the veins will have valves, but the arteries do not have valves, as the blood in the arteries always flows in the right direction because of the pumping of the heart. The heart is pumping the blood in it, so it always flows in the right direction. It will not go in the opposite direction. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Then talking about the veins. So veins, these blood vessels would be carrying the blood that is rich in carbon dioxide, and it will be carrying the blood from different organs of the body towards the heart. They don't have thick walls as the blood pressure is quite low in them, and they are slightly wider than the arteries. And they contain valves in them to prevent the backflow of the blood, to prevent the blood from flowing in the opposite direction. Okay. Also, the veins are visible on the surface of the skin. These are the only blood vessels that are visible. Okay, so differences we have already seen that, right? Talking about the capillaries. So these are very thin blood vessels. Capillaries are very thin blood vessels and will be visible in certain part of the body, like in the eyes, in the ears. It will be visible, but it is everywhere in the body. So they are the smallest of all the blood vessels, and they will be acting as a bridge between the veins and the arteries. Getting it? Between the arteries and the veins, it will be acting as a bridge. Also, we see that it will be responsible for exchange of materials between the tissues and the blood vessels. Yes, Razan, tell me.
Yes, sir.
You were having some question?
No, sir. You were stuck. That's why I thought you asked me something.
No, no, no. So what basically happens, say for example, this is a cell over here. Now the cell will have some requirement like oxygen, food, and water. These are the necessary stuffs that it needs. So the artery further breaks up into arterioles. Okay, now artery breaks up into tiny arteries called as arterioles. As we have learned about this, right? And these will be bringing water, oxygen, food to the cell. Cell will use them, and cell will produce some waste materials, unwanted materials that the cell will not keep for itself. So it is carbon dioxide, uh, it is urine, it is urea, etc. So those waste materials will be carried away by the venules, the tiny veins that you see over here, the one that is in the blue color. So the venules will carry away the waste material from the cell and will further combine together to form veins, and it will go towards the heart. And from the heart, we know that it will go back to the lungs, right? That is the case. So that's what the function of that thing was. Okay, you guys didn't had this topic blood group, so I'll be skipping the discussion of this. Okay,
Yes, sir.
since it is not there. Okay. Okay, then talking about the pulse here. So we know that the heart pumps the blood into the arteries, and because of the continuous pumping of the blood into the arteries, we see that it results into the rhythmic throbbing. Like you can feel the pulse when you put your fingers over here. Getting it? So you can take the pulse, right? So why we see this throbbing over here? Because the blood is continuously being pumped into the arteries via the heart. So because of which some throbbing is observed here, some movement is observed here. So that is called as pulse. Okay. So as you can see here, due to the pumping of the heart, the blood is continuously going into the heart artery, and hence we feel a throbbing over here. So that is called as pulse basically, right? That is the case. So we can define this as the continuous pumping of the blood in the arteries results in the rhythmic throbbing, which is called as pulse. Then there is also one topic of the pulse rate, right? Like how much of throbbing, how much of that movement you see in under 1 minute. So pulse rate was basically being defined as the number of pulse beats per minute. Okay, no? How many times you will be feeling the movement in the pulse in under 1 minute, that is called as pulse rate. And the normal pulse rate of human being is between 70 to 80. Yes, 70 to 80 beats per minute. That's the case here. Okay. Further, we had some other topics like this stethoscope. So that is basically an instrument that is used to listen to the heartbeat of a person, right? So this is the earpiece, that's the diaphragm that would be placed onto the chest or to the back of the person, right? So thereby, this we know that the heart, while it will be pumping the blood, while it will be moving, it produces a lubbed up sound. The sound produced by the heart is called as lubbed up sound. Getting it, Susan? And by hearing the pattern of the sound, the doctors are able to identify the problem and determine the condition of the patient, right? So if it is normal, like they will be able to look at whether the heartbeat is normal or it is abnormal. Getting it? So it contains two eyepieces, I mean to say earpieces, a tube in which the sound will be traveling, and that's a diaphragm which will be detecting the sound. So this diaphragm is very sensitive towards the sound. Getting it now? So that's the working of this stethoscope, helps in listening to the heartbeat of a person and also helps in measuring the blood pressure also. That is the case. Then there was this question like what is the relation between heart rate and the pulse rate? So they are basically same thing. Getting the pulse rate gives you an average idea about the heart rate also. Okay. So that is one thing. Further, we had this topic of pulmonary circuit in the chapter, in which we learned basically that it is basically a network of the arteries and the veins that is connected to the heart and the lungs, as you can see here. Like there's a network of the veins and the arteries over here that is connected to the lungs and to the heart, and that makes up the pulmonary circuit. Just like you have learned like the electric circuit, so like this one is the pulmonary circuit. So in this, what happens? The deoxygenated blood is pumped from the heart. The deoxygenated blood is pumped from the heart towards the lungs. Getting it? So as you can see here, this blue tube over here, right? So it is carrying the deoxygenated blood from the heart towards the lung, and this tube brings the oxygenated blood from the lungs towards the heart. That is one thing. Further, from the body, what is happening? The the deoxygenated blood is coming from the different organs of the body towards the heart, and the heart sends the oxygenated blood to different parts of the body. So all of that makes up a network of blood vessels that is connected to the lungs and the heart, and that makes up the pulmonary circuit. That is one thing. Okay, getting it. Further, like there are some special type of blood vessels, like pulmonary artery. Generally, what we know that artery contains pure blood and it contains oxygenated blood, right? But the pulmonary artery, as you can see here, is a special blood vessel that connects the heart to the lungs. It is connecting the heart to the lungs. So what it does now? It takes the blood that contains less oxygen, basically contains deoxygenated blood from the heart towards the lungs. And it is different from other arteries because arteries contain oxygenated blood, but the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. Getting it? Now the question is why at all we are calling this as pulmonary artery? Because what we know, arteries are the blood vessels that carries the blood away from the heart. So it fits under that definition. So thereby we are calling this as the pulmonary artery, despite it carrying the deoxygenated blood. So that is this is the special type of blood vessel which we are having here. Okay. After that, we have got the pulmonary vein. So that's the special blood vessel which connects the lungs and the heart. So where do we have this? This is where we have the pulmonary vein. Getting it? This one over here. So the pulmonary vein, it is connecting the lungs and the heart, and it carries oxygen-rich blood from the lungs towards the heart. Okay. So what we know that the veins brings the blood from different organs towards the heart now. So this is also doing it. And generally we know that veins carry deoxygenated blood, but in this case, since it is bringing the blood from the lungs to the heart, so it will be carrying the pure and oxygenated blood. So that is a special thing about these two types here. Okay, now further talking about the structure of the heart, as you can see here, it is divided up into four different chambers: this one, this one, this, and this, right? Now the left chamber is called as atrium. The upper one is the left atrium, the lower one is the left ventricle. Getting it? And this one over here is the right atrium, and this one here is the right ventricle. Getting it? So that's the left and right division of the heart. Okay. Further, if we were to look at the working of this, like how exactly the blood will be flowing through it, so let us discuss that as well. Let me just clean this. See. So first of all, what happens that the blood from the different parts of the body, okay, from the different organs of the body, will be brought via this superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Basically, these are the vena cava. This one brings the blood from the upper part of the body, this vena cava, and this vena cava brings the blood from the lower part of the body. Getting it now? And all that blood goes into the right atrium. So what kind of blood is brought to the right atrium? Deoxygenated blood is being brought. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now from the right atrium, the blood goes into the right ventricle. It goes into the right ventricle. Okay. Now, so that the blood does not comes back to the right atrium again from the right ventricle, we have got a valve here. And what we know that the valve prevents the backflow of the blood. So when the blood from the right atrium will enter into the right ventricle, so for just a short period of time, this valve called as tricuspid valve will immediately close. So that the blood does not flows back. Got it now? And from here, from the right ventricle, the deoxygenated blood goes into the pulmonary artery, and from the pulmonary artery, the blood is brought to the lungs. Got it, Razan?
Yes, sir.
Got it? Good. Then coming back to this chamber, that is the also take a look at like for this valve here, pulmonary valve. It will also prevent the blood from the pulmonary artery into flowing back to the right ventricle. So there is another valve over here that will prevent the backflow of the blood between the pulmonary artery and the right ventricle. Now talking about the left atrium here. Now the pulmonary vein will be bringing the blood from the lungs. Right, it will be bringing the blood from the lungs. So if it is bringing the blood from the lungs, what kind of blood it is going to be? Tell me. If the lungs is going to send the blood towards the heart, so will it be sending oxygenated or deoxygenated blood? What do you think? Yes, obviously it is going to be oxygenated blood now.
Yes, sir.
So the lung sends oxygenated blood towards the heart via the pulmonary vein. So basically, pulmonary vein is bringing this blood to the left atrium. Okay, now the left atrium, in this what will happen? The muscles of the left atrium will be squeezing and it will push the blood towards the left ventricle. And so that the blood does not flows back to the left atrium again, there is another valve here called as mitral valve. Now talking about this left ventricle, there is one is very special thing about this left ventricle, that it is the strongest chamber of the human heart. The muscles of the chamber is very strong. Okay, no? So it will push it with a very great amount of force. The blood in this will be pushed with a very great amount of force into this largest artery of the body called as aorta. So now the aorta will be distributing the blood to the different parts of the body. So that's how the heart would be functioning. And a very distinct feature of the human heart is that there is a wall called a septum that separates the left and right parts of the heart. This wall, muscular wall, is called as septum. So that's how the heart functions. Getting it? Okay. Then question is like, do all animals have circulatory system? So they have, but they don't. It's not like necessary that all of them have got a complex circulatory system just like humans. Take a look at these animations here. So this one is Hydra. an aquatic organism, and these are called as
Sir, I
sponges.
can't see the screen.
You can't see the screen. See, there must be some network issue from your side. Okay, no, you're having facing some network issue today, Razan.
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
So, sir, you were sharing the screen the full time.
Yeah, I have been sharing the screen all this time.
Yes. Okay, sir.
I have been sharing this. Like, was it stuck for you? Yes, Razan.
What,
Like,
sir?
was the screen stuck for you? Like, I mean to say that I think you're having some network issue today. Okay. See, now it is fine. Now you can see the screen or not?
No, sir. It's
Still
okay.
not.
You can just. I don't need the screen. You can just talk.
No, no. Like, how will you get the complete picture then? Huh? I will reshare my screen. Just give me 1 minute. Maybe that will work for you then. 1 minute. Yeah, tell me if you can see it now.
Yes, sir. No.
Okay. See. So, like without looking at this diagram of the human heart, it is difficult to understand. Okay. See, we have got 10 minutes left. Let us complete this. See. Okay, you can watch the recording if you were to revise it. Okay, now if you need to revise, you can watch it again after before the exam. So there are some animals that do not possess a circulatory system at all. What happens? The water in which they will be living, that water will be bringing the food and oxygen into their body. So from one side of the body, the water will be entering. It will bring the food and oxygen, and as the water would be moving out of the body, it will carry the waste metals away from the body. Also in this one you can see like this guy here has spilled some color around this sponge. Why? So that he'll show us how the water moves across the body of the sponge. So we can observe here that how this color is moving across the body. Basically water is moving here, right? From the bottom it moves, and from the mouth of this sponge the water comes out. The water that will be entering will bring the oxygen and food to this, and the water that moves out will take away the waste materials from its body. So that was all in this chapter. I think some one more thing is left, that is the excretory system and dialysis is left. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah, so talking about excretory system, it's a system that is responsible for removal of waste materials produced in the body. Getting it? Different animals have got different kind of excretory system. Particularly, we'll be learning about the human's excretory system and the cow's excretory system and their digestion system particularly. So the main excretory organs in the human includes the kidney. It contains this tube-like structure called as ureter and this urinary bladder. Okay, what basically is going to happen? The blood that comes to the kidney, the blood, 1 minute, the blood that comes to the kidney. So the waste materials from the blood, like urine, is filtered out. Okay, and whatever, and after purification, the blood will go back to the body. The waste material filtered from the blood comes out to the urinary bladder via the ureter. So ureter is bringing the urine to the urinary bladder, and when this urinary bladder will be filled, so at regular interval of time, the person will have the urge to urinate, and the urine will come out via the urethra. Urethra is the opening into the bladder. So that's the excretory system in humans. Further, we see that different animals would be excreting different kind of waste. Like for example, the excreta of the birds are white in color. Why? Because they contain uric acid in them. Okay, and the mammals, the major waste present in the excreta of mammal is urea. The um, humans are there. You have elephants, some of the sharks, and some of the amphibians. So they have got urea in their waste. Getting it? The
What about
excreta.
frogs?
What about? Repeat again.
Frogs.
Frogs. Frogs would be. Frogs also have urea in their waste. Okay, no. So
Okay.
frog is an amphibian, no? Like so that also has a urea in their waste. While the most of the aquatic fishes, their waste mainly contains ammonia in it. So we see that different organisms have got different kind of waste in them. Okay. Further, we learned about composition of the urine. So urine is majorly made up of contains water only. Major composition of the urine is basically water. So about 95% of urine is mainly water. Getting it? Then some of the toxic waste is like about 2.5%. Urea is 2.5% also. Right. Also, we see that the way in which waste chemicals are removed from the body of any given animal depends upon the availability of the water. Right. So we see that the fishes and other aquatic animals will be excreting ammonia in the water. For the birds, snakes, and lizards, they excrete semi-solid, and that is white in color because of the presence of uric acid. Getting it? That is one thing. Then talking about dialysis, so sometimes we see that people will be using artificial kidneys. When the natural kidney will stop to function, so they will be taking help of this artificial kidney that will purify their blood. Okay, so that is basically called as dialysis. And when they have to go through dialysis, when the kidney stops to function. So in the case of kidney failure, in which the kidney of the person are unable to perform their function, the person has to go through dialysis. That is one thing. Okay. Then we had one more topic of the how sweat is useful. So we see that sweat contains water, it contains some salts in it, and also contains toxic waste in it. So we are getting rid of the toxic waste from the body. Plus, evaporation of the sweat from the skin also makes us feel cool. So it gives a cooling effect, especially during the summer season. Then talking about transportation in plants and animals, so we see that the roots of the plants absorbs the all the essential minerals and water from the soil. Also, the roots have hair-like structures present in them that increases the surface area for absorption, right? And that allows for more absorption of water. So from the roots, the water and minerals are transported to different parts of the plant through a special kind of tissues that we are calling as xylem. So xylem is responsible for transporting water and nutrients in the plants. The roots should be absorbing the water and minerals and it sends it to the xylem that will transport it in the upward direction. Talking about the next type of cells, next type of the tissue in this plant is it is phloem. So that transports the food that is produced by the leaf to all the parts of the plant. So the food that is produced in the leaves is transported to all the parts of the plant in the lower direction, in the upper direction, in the left and right, in all the direction via the help of the phloem. Getting it? That is one thing. Further, for the flow of the food, energy is required. Getting it? Energy is required. So that is basically called as translocation. Getting it? So that is basically translocation. Try to recall that what we have learned about translocation in plants. We have learned it no that translocation is basically the movement of the materials in the plants from the leaves to different parts of the body. That is what translocation is. It's the process via which the different materials like food uh, from the leaves should be moving to different parts of the plant's body. So that is translocation in simple terms. Then we had learned about transpiration. Transpiration basically helps in absorption of water. What happens as the roots of the plant would be absorbing the water? Okay, so for it will go in the upward direction. And why it is going in the upward direction only? Because we see that during the daytime, particularly, the evaporation will be taking during the night also it will be taking, but during the daytime, more evaporation will be taking. So from the surface of the leaf, water is being lost. And how is it lost? So we know that the leaves have got tiny spores on them called as stomatal pore. They have tiny pores called as stomata. So why this stomata? Water vapor is getting lost into the atmosphere. So there is a deficiency of water vapor. There is less amount of water vapor, water in the leaves now. So there's a difference is created here, and that creates a suction pull in the plants that will bring the water from the roots in the upward direction. So transpiration is actually helping in absorption of water. Further, it is kind of sweating, just like sweating gives us a cooling effect. So transpiration also helps in cooling down the plant. So as the water evaporates, it uses the heat of the plant for